I want to welcome in now retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert. He is also a Republican running for U.S. Senate in Maryland. Thank you, sir, for being with us. This war has become undoubtedly a humanitarian catastrophe. How does Israel go about rooting out Hamas while also doing whatever it can to limit the number of civilians who are killed?
Marni, you're right, but it's not just a humanitarian crisis that started on October 7th, but it started back in 2007 when Hamas took power and created squalor in Gaza. Right now, Israel is very conflicted, of course, amongst their three primary objectives. Number one, to remove Hamas from power and that threat that they have the right and the responsibility to remove, but also to rescue the hostages and to deter other action. But at the same time, they are right in judging whether each one of their strikes or military activities is proportional in the sense that the gains that they achieve are worth it compared to the likely collateral damage that's heart-wrenching in every single case.
There are calls for a ceasefire. The president deemed it a pause. What do you think should happen?
Marni, it's very clear that a ceasefire or even an extended pause would favor Hamas. You think about the fact that back in 2005, Israel undertook the ultimate ceasefire by trading land for peace and creating Gaza to begin with. And right now, they are judging, rightfully so, that creating a large-scale humanitarian pause or a ceasefire would only benefit Hamas and give them time to regroup. Now, it does make sense ultimately for them to consider very limited humanitarian corridors and pauses that are judged overall in their validity by the United Nations or another independent group, such that Hamas cannot take advantage of those type of pauses like they have done in the past in subsequent conflicts.
Hamas has been described, as you know, as a movement of terrorists with ideologies. Is it realistic to believe that Hamas as a movement, as a group, can be ultimately eliminated?
Marni, it's not as much about eliminating the ideology as disseminating or destroying their ability to govern or ultimately to create havoc in that part of the world. It's a lot like ISIS in the sense that we have defeated ISIS ultimately. They're not individually destroyed, but we've destroyed or disrupted their ability to control ground, control territory, and control populations. And that's ultimately what Israel is considering as they try to dismantle Hamas.
Your military expertise are critical here. Israel's ground troops advancing towards Gaza City. How much worse is this going to get? How much bloodier will the battle be?
It clearly is extremely heart-wrenching just to see those videos or hear those reports. And I believe that the IDF is extremely professional, certainly in my interactions with them during my 3 decades in my career, that they are making very deliberate, methodical decisions about the targets they strike and the maneuvers they undertake. And certainly that northern part of Gaza is going to be an extremely difficult situation, both for them and certainly for the Palestinians who've lived in squalor there for the last decade and a half. But it's going to be a heart-wrenching series of videos that we see over the course of the next days, weeks, and potentially months as they encircle and then start to move into Gaza City.
House Republicans, even within this hour, will be discussing aid to Israel. Where do you stand on that? What's your read on the importance and the critical nature of that aid in the immediate future?
Marni, Israel has been a long-term friend to the United States, and we need to respond to them appropriately after the attack they absorbed 3.5 weeks ago. And it certainly is also the case that America needs to consider how to best support those poor Palestinians that have been brutalized by Hamas for the last decade and a half and find ways for humanitarian aid to get to them in a targeted fashion that doesn't benefit Hamas as well.
When asked who would govern Gaza following this war, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the internationally recognized Palestinian Authority made the most sense. However, that group says that they don't want to assume power moving forward if it's helped by Israel. So then what?
Marni, the United States and Israel and our allies and partners in the region need to consider the aftermath of this conflict, because there will be an aftermath. And those poor Palestinians need somebody to govern them in a way far better than Hamas has done in the last decade and a half. And likely that's going to fall on the shoulders of a combination of the Palestinian Authority and the neighbors of Jordan, Egypt, and others that should have rightful compassion to the Palestinians and find a way, at least temporarily, to care for them in the aftermath of this conflict.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.